Let me ask you something. You see that 0.14% on the screen? That's what the game tells you your odds are of pulling a legendary. Most people look at that number and think, okay, 0.14%, that's rough, but not impossible. I've seen worse in other games. But here's the thing, that number is lying to you. Not technically, but functionally, it's absolutely lying. And I'm gonna prove it with math. So, here's what the game doesn't tell you up front. When you pull for a legendary, you're not pulling for a legendary. You're pulling for one of three families, Ackerman, Yaeger, or Reiss. They all share that 0.14% pull, which means 0.14% gets divided by 3. Do that math and your actual odds of pulling, let's say, Ackerman specifically, 0.0467%. That's 1 in every 2,143 pulls. And that's during a ×2 event that only happens on the weekends. That's the good version of the number. That's the devs of AoT Revolution being generous. At base rates with no 2x boosts, Ackerman drops down to 0.0267%, 1 in 3,750. And Mythic is worse. The Mythic pool has two families, Helos and Fritz. They share 0.05 during ×2 events. Split it in half and you're looking at 1 in 4,000 for, let's say, Helos specifically during the weekends. Off of the event, Monday through Friday, 1 in 8,000. I'm going to say that again because I really need it to land, 1 in 8,000. I'm going to put a graph up on screen so you can really see what I'm talking about. Let's lay the whole thing out so we're all on the same page. During the ×2 event, which is the state the game was in as of recording this video, here's what you're actually working with. Any legendary at all, 0.14%. That's 1 in 714 pulls. Not great, but it is survivable. If you want, let's say, Ackerman specifically, if oh my god, I'm stuttering. If you want Ackerman specifically, 0.0467%, 1 in 2,143. If you want Yaeger specifically, same thing, 1 in 2,143. Reiss specifically, same thing, 1 in 2,143. Now Mythic, if you want any Mythic at all, 0.05% on the weekends when it's ×2. That's 1 in 2,000. If you want Helos specifically, you cut that ×2 rate in half and you get 1 in 4,000, 0.025%. If you want Fritz specifically, it's the same thing, 1 in 4,000. Now, I'm going to circle back around and I'm going to elaborate on what I mean when I say whenever these things are not on ×2 rates. So here's the off-banner number, the base rates when there's no ×2 event running. If you want any legendary, that's 0.08%, 1 in 1,250. If you want Ackerman specifically, let's say, that's the example we're going to keep using, that goes down, cut it in half to 0.0267%, 1 in 3,750. If you want any Mythic at all, that comes out to 0.025, 1 in 4,000. If you want Helos specifically, that cuts it down in half to 0.0125%. That is 1 in 8,000. I want you to memorize that last number because we're coming back to it. Here's some real world comparisons because those numbers feel pretty abstract. A percent is just a percentage until you put it next to something real. So let me put it next to something real. Ackerman on the ×2 weekend event, 1 in 2,143. Your odds of being born with a third nipple, an actual documented medical thing, are roughly 1 in 18. That is astronomically better than pulling Ackerman during that bonus event. Your odds of being left-handed, and a natural redhead at the same time, about 1 in 50. Still magnitudes more likely. To have just a 50-50 shot, not a guarantee, but a perfectly fair coin flip at Ackerman during a ×2 event, you would need roughly 1,485 pulls. 1,485 pulls. Just for a coin flip, just for a 50-50. Ackerman at base rates, 1 in 3,750. You are more likely to deal a full house in poker on the very first hand to yourself, which happens roughly 1 in 694 times. 694 times more likely than you are to pull Ackerman when it's not on ×2 event. Now I want you to do me a favor. Picture a baseball stadium, 40,000 people. Every single one of them does a pull right now. About 11 of them get Ackerman. The other 39,989 go home with something they didn't want. Now Helos ×2 event, 1 in 4,000. That's roughly the same odds as guessing someone's 4-digit PIN code correctly on the first try. You just don't do that. It doesn't happen. We all know it doesn't happen. That's just the entire premise of a 4-digit PIN. And finally, the one that made me stop and stare at my screen for a second, at base rates, if you want Helos specifically, your odds of getting Helos are 1 in 8,000. This is approaching the odds of an amateur golfer hitting a hole-in-one. That happens about 1 in every 12,500 attempts. Now, it is still rarer, but we're still in the same neighborhood. Now, picture an NFL stadium for me, sold out, 70,000 fans. Everyone pulls once. 8 or 9 of them get Helos. 8 in a stadium of 70,000 people. And the game presents this to you with a loading screen and a sound effect and a spin animation like it's a reasonable thing to ask you to chase. It's not a feature. It's a whale trap disguised as a feature. Okay. So, I want to be clear. I'm not saying the spin system should be easy. I'm not saying rare should mean common. I actually think having things to chase is good for a game. That tension is a part of the fun. But there's a difference between rare and functionally impossible. So what would fair actually look like? Let me show you a revised table that I made. If legendaries sit at a 2.5% pull rate, split across 3 families, each family would be roughly 0.833 individually. That's 1 in about 120 pulls. Mythics at a 0.5% pull, split across 2 families, put each family at 0.25%, 1 in 400. At those numbers, targeting a specific mythic family is still a genuine grind. You would still feel the pull when it hits. You would still clip it and post it because it means something still. But it wouldn't mean you need to spend real money just to have a realistic shot. 1 in 400 is still rare. 1 in 8,000 is literally a financial trap. And that's the difference. And honestly, think about what higher rates would do for the game itself. More people pulling more mythics mean more TikTok clips. More clips means more content. More content means more new players. More new players mean the servers stay full. The developers win too. This isn't a zero-sum situation. The current rates don't just hurt the players. Long term, they hollow out the game. Because you see someone running around with Arlert and they're trying to do a raid. And then they have someone with Helos coming in with a crit Thunder Spears build soloing. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Now, with that being said, my final thoughts are this. I know there's going to be those people, and every time I bring up the family rates, there's always some people who are saying, oh, well, they're overpowered. They're supposed to be rare. They're mythic for a reason. And I would like to say, in rebuttal to that, having a literal handful, on average, you are more likely to run into a server of nothing but legendary families than you are to run into someone with one legendary family. That is the unfortunate truth. And I would also like to say, the revised rates of 1 in 400 for a mythic family is still absurdly rare, rarer than it should be. And I'd like to end the video on this. Attack on Titan Revolution has genuinely good bones. The movement feels right, the IP is perfect for this kind of game, the character designs, or not character designs, but Titan designs are clean. But when your core progression system is built on odds that the average player basically has zero chance of ever hitting without spending money, you've made a game that people play until they do the math and then they leave. I did the math, and I'm not leaving yet, but I understand why people do. If you made it this far, please drop a comment with the number, or rather with just the number, whatever hold rate you think would be realistically fair. I want to see where the community lands. And if enough people make noise about this, maybe someone will notice. I think these bands or the ass of fiends aren't helping.